You know that moment on the first tee. You swing as hard as you can, the ball jumps off the face, and it still lands short of the guy who looks like he barely tried. I lived in that moment for 11 years. I blamed my swing, I blamed my clubs, I bought new drivers I could not afford, and the whole time, the real thief was sitting right there in my hand, dimpled and white and completely wrong for me. Here is what I learned when I finally tested it myself. The golf ball you were told is the best ball is very likely stealing distance from your driver and softness from your short game, and the fix costs less than a single sleeve of the premium ball you keep reaching for. This used to be common knowledge among club fitters decades ago, before slick marketing convinced every weekend golfer that the tour ball is the only ball worth buying. Stay with me, because near the end I am going to show you a strange kitchen test using Epsom salt that golf ball engineers have quietly known about since the 1960s, a test that tells you in 90 seconds whether the ball in your bag is even balanced enough to roll straight. And this works whether your swing speed is 100 miles an hour or a gentle 70, whether you play twice a week or twice a year. I remember the exact round that broke me. It was a damp Saturday morning at a little Muni course outside town, the kind with the cracked cart path and the flag that never matches the hole. My buddy Dave, who is 63 and has a bad shoulder, outdrove me by 20 yards on every hole. Same swing he always had, and I finally asked him what ball he played. He grinned and said, "The cheap soft one." That grin is the reason I ran the experiment I am about to walk you through. So let me tell you what compression actually is, because nobody explained it to me for over a decade, and once you understand it, you cannot unsee it. Compression is simply how much a golf ball squishes when your club strikes it. Every ball has a number, roughly from the 30s on the soft, end up past 100 on the firm end. A high compression ball is hard. It needs a fast, powerful swing to squash it enough to release its energy. If you do not swing fast enough to compress it, that energy never comes back to you. You are basically hitting a rock that refuses to give you anything back. A low compression ball is different. It squishes easily. A slower, smoother swing can still fully compress it, which means it springs back and launches with speed even when you are not swinging out of your shoes. That is the whole secret Dave was grinning about. He was compressing his ball completely. I was barely denting mine. Now here is the history that shocked me, because this is not new science. It is old science that got buried. Back in 1898, a man named Coburn Haskell, working with a Goodrich engineer named Bertram Work in Akron, Ohio, wound rubber thread around a solid core and changed golf forever. The Haskell ball, patented the next year, replaced the hard-packed gutta-percha ball, and the reason it took over was simple: it compressed. Average golfers suddenly hit it farther with the exact same swing. The lesson was there over 125 years ago. A ball that gives with your swing beats a ball that fights it. But somewhere along the way, that lesson got flipped on its head. Therefore, I need to show you how the wrong ball ended up in almost every amateur bag in America, including mine, and why the number on the box matters more than the logo on the ball. For years, I played the same premium tour ball the professionals play. I thought I was buying performance. I thought the higher price meant more distance. That is exactly what I was supposed to think. Here is what actually happens when a slower swing meets a firm tour ball. Robot testing done by club fitters and reported through outfits like the ones that run launch monitor studies has shown the same pattern again and again. Golfers with driver swing speeds under about 90 miles an hour lose measurable ball speed and distance with firm, high compression balls compared to soft, low compression balls. We are talking real yards, not one or two. In some of these tests, slower swingers picked up anywhere from 5 to 12 yards off the tee simply by switching to a ball that matched their speed. Same swing, same club, different ball. Think about that. I spent $400 on a driver hoping for 10 yards, when a $25 box of the right ball would have handed me most of it for free. So I decided to stop guessing and actually test it. I bought a cheap swing radar, the kind you set on the ground behind you, for about $90. I measured my driver swing, It came in around 84 miles an hour on a good day. Not slow, not fast, middle of the road, like a lot of us. And according to every fitting chart I could find, that number put me right in the range where a compression rating in the 50s to 70s is ideal, and where the 100-plus tour ball is actively working against me. I felt a little sick. 11 years. Hundreds of dollars in premium sleeves. All because I believe the ball the pros use must be the best ball for me. The pros swing between 110 and 120 miles an hour. They can compress a brick. I cannot. You probably cannot either. And that mismatch is the single most common, most expensive mistake in amateur golf. And that mismatch is the single most common, most expensive mistake in amateur golf. And if you want to go even deeper into the systems behind decisions like this one, I have written about exactly this kind of thinking in my books. The series is called First Wins, Sharp Habits, and the Full System, and each one is built around the same idea running through this video, that the practical answer is almost always older, simpler, and cheaper than what we are sold. You can find them linked in the description. If any of what I have said today has already clicked for you, those books will take it much further. Now, back to the testing, because knowing the theory is one thing, and I wanted to know which soft balls actually held up on the course, because low compression has an old reputation for feeling mushy and dying around the greens. Therefore, I bought them all and tested them, sleeve after sleeve, through an entire season, and what I found surprised me even more than the distance did. Let me start with the ball that Dave was playing, because it deserves the first spot. The Callaway Super Soft. This is the ball that has been quietly winning driveways and muni courses for years, while everyone stared at the tour balls on the top shelf. Its compression sits right down around the high 30s, which makes it one of the softest balls you can buy that still performs. The first time I hit it, I did not believe the sound. It comes off the face with this quiet, buttery click instead of the hard crack I was used to, and the ball just went. On a cold morning, when my tour ball used to feel like hitting a frozen marble, the Super Soft still felt alive. Here is what really got me. I expected to give up control near the green to get that easy distance. I did not. It checked up well enough on pitch shots for my game, and off the tee it flew straighter than anything I had played, because a softer ball with the right cover fights side spin. Less side spin means your slice curves less. My slice, the one I had fought for a decade, shrank by what felt like 10 yards of curve. For a street price around $25 to $30 a dozen, this ball did more for my scores than any club I ever bought. But the Super Soft is not the right answer for everyone, and I found that out the moment I handed a sleeve to my brother, who has a faster swing and a better short game than me. He wanted more bite around the greens. Therefore, my experiment had to go further into balls that keep the soft feel but add more spin and control, and the next one became my personal favorite, the Srixon Soft Feel. If the Super Soft is the easy, forgiving choice, the Srixon Soft Feel is the one that made me feel like I actually knew what I was doing. Its compression sits in the low 60s, so it is still very much a low compression ball, still easy to launch, but it gives you a firmer, more responsive feel that better players tend to love. Srixon has been making this ball through many generations, refining the cover to grab the grooves on your wedges. I played an entire month with nothing but the soft feel, and here is the number that mattered to me. My greenside chips started stopping. On a fast green that used to reject my approach and send it rolling off the back, the ball took one hop and sat. That is spin. That is the thing everyone told me you can only get from an expensive urethane tour ball. And here it was, on a ball that costs around $22 to $28 a dozen, still soft enough that my average swing compressed it fully off the tee. The lesson stacking up in my notebook was undeniable. Soft does not mean weak. Soft, matched to your swing, means longer and straighter and just as much control where it counts. And yet, the more I tested, the more I realized that some of these balls were built for very specific problems, and the next one solved the problem that plagues most amateurs more than any other. Distance off the tee for the slowest swings, the Wilson Duo Soft Plus. Wilson makes a claim on this ball that I frankly did not believe when I read it. They market it as one of the softest golf balls in the world, with a compression rating that has dipped down near the 30s, some versions even lower. My gut said a ball that soft would feel like putting a marshmallow and fly like one too. I was wrong. Wilson, by the way, is not some newcomer. This is a company that has been in the golf business since the 1914 era, and they have been making balls for more than a century. They know what they are doing. When I put the Duo Soft Plus into play, the story it told was clear. For the slowest swings, the ones under about 80 miles an hour, this ball is a gift. It launches high with very little effort, it stays remarkably straight, and off the putter face it feels soft without feeling dead. If you are a senior golfer, or a lady golfer, or anyone whose swing has slowed down over the years and you feel like the game got harder as the ball got shorter, this is the ball I would put in your hands first. And it usually sells for around $20 to $25 a dozen. That is the entire point of this experiment. The people who need distance help the most have been sold the balls that help them the least. But I promised you a full top 5, and I have not forgotten the golfers who still want a taste of that tour ball feel without the tour ball punishment. Therefore, let me show you the 2 balls that bridge that gap, because this is where the low compression world gets genuinely clever. The 4th ball on my list is the Titleist Tour Soft. Now, I know what you are thinking. Titleist is the tour ball company, the ball the pros play. And they are. But here is what almost nobody talks about. Titleist makes a low compression ball on purpose for exactly the golfer we have been describing, and it is quietly one of the best. The Tour Soft has a compression in the low 60s, so it is genuinely soft, but it carries something Titleist calls a larger core and a thin, responsive cover that gives you more greenside control than most soft balls dare to offer. When I played it, it felt like a compromise in the best possible way. Off the tee, my average swing got that easy, low compression launch, and the straighter flight around the greens it grabbed better than the Super Soft, close to what my old tour ball did. It sits a little higher in price, usually around $35 to $40 a dozen, but for the golfer who wants the trusted name and the soft feel in one ball, it delivers. And it taught me something important. Even the biggest tour ball company knows that most golfers should not be playing their tour ball. That admission, hiding in plain sight on the shelf, is the whole villain of this story, and I will come back to it. But first, the 5th ball, because it rounds out the list with the best pure feel of the entire group, the TaylorMade Soft Response. This one surprised me, because TaylorMade spent years chasing the distance crowd, and here they built a ball squarely for feel. Its compression sits in the mid to upper 30s, extremely soft, and TaylorMade wrapped it in a cover designed to add greenside spin and an ionomer blend meant to reduce that dreaded side spin off the driver. In plain English, it flies straight and it feels like butter. I saved it for a windy day on purpose because low compression balls with lower spin tend to hold their line better in wind, and this one cut through a stiff breeze better than my old high spin tour ball ever did. It usually runs around $30 to $35 a dozen. If you value the pure, soft sensation of a well-struck iron more than anything else, this is your ball. So there is the top 5. The Callaway Super Soft for the best all-around value. The Srixon Soft Feel for control with softness. The Wilson Duo Soft Plus for the slowest swings that need free distance. The Titleist Tour Soft for the trusted name with soft feel. And the TaylorMade Soft Response for the best pure feel in the wind. But now I have to stop and talk to the person who has been quietly doubting me this whole time, because I know some of you are thinking, that is fine for him. He has a decent swing and time to test balls all season, but my situation is different. Maybe your swing has slowed way down. Maybe your hands ache with arthritis by the back 9. Maybe you only play a handful of times a year and you feel silly obsessing over a golf ball. I want to talk to you directly, because you are exactly the person this helps the most, and I can prove it with something you can do this week without buying anything new. Take whatever golf balls you already own right now. Old ones, range finds, gifts, mismatched singles rattling around in your garage. I want you to do a simple sorting test before you ever spend a dollar. Press the ball hard against a firm countertop with your thumb, or better yet, squeeze two different balls between your thumb and one finger, one in each hand, and feel which one gives more. You will be shocked how much difference you can feel between a firm ball and a soft one just with your hands. The one that gives more easily is the lower compression ball, and for a slower or H-ier swing, that is the one you play first. Here is why this matters so much for you specifically. A softer ball transmits less shock up the shaft into your hands and wrists at impact. When I gave my father-in-law, who is 71 and has arthritis in both hands, a soft, low compression ball, the first thing he said was not about distance. He said his hands did not sting. He played 9 more holes than he usually does that day. The right ball did not just help his score. It kept him in the game he loves. And if you only play a few times a year, this matters more, not less, because you are not going to fix your swing with practice. You do not have the reps. Therefore, the equipment has to do the work for you. And a low compression ball is the single easiest, cheapest change that makes an occasional golfer instantly longer and straighter. You do not need lessons. You do not need a new driver. You need to stop playing a ball built for a professional. So take the balls you already have, feel for the softest ones, and play those next round. That costs you nothing and it starts working immediately. Once you feel the difference, then you go buy a proper dozen of one of the 5 I tested. But I promised you something at the very beginning, something stranger than any of this. And now that you understand compression and feel and why the right ball changes everything, you are finally ready for it. Because there is one more secret, and it is the one that made me realize how deep this rabbit hole really goes. Here is the uncomfortable truth I bumped into while I was researching all this. Even after you pick the perfect low compression ball for your swing, that ball might still be lying to you. It might be built slightly off balance from the factory, with the weight not evenly distributed inside, and an unbalanced ball will not roll straight on the green no matter how good your putting stroke is. It will drift, it will wobble offline on long putts, and you will blame yourself the way I blamed myself for 11 years. I found the fix in the old knowledge, the kind of thing that used to circulate among tour caddies and equipment tinkerers and got quietly forgotten once everyone assumed factory balls were perfect. It goes back to work on golf ball balance that engineers were studying as far back as the 1960s, and it resurfaced years ago when a respected golf publication actually ran the test and confirmed it works. It is called the Epsom salt float test, and you can do it tonight in your kitchen. Here is exactly how I did it. I took a clear plastic cup or a wide glass and filled it about 2/3 with warm water. Then I started stirring in Epsom salt, the same stuff you soak sore feet in, a couple of tablespoons at a time. You keep dissolving salt into the water until a golf ball dropped in floats instead of sinking. It usually takes somewhere around 6 to 10 tablespoons depending on your water, so be patient and keep stirring until the ball bobs up to the surface. Now here is the magic. Once the ball is floating in that salty water, give it a gentle spin with your finger. If the ball is perfectly balanced, it will stop in a random spot every time. But if it has a heavy side, and most balls do to some degree, the heavy side will slowly rotate to the bottom and the lighter side will float up on top again and again, no matter how you spin it. The same point keeps floating to the top. That tells you the ball is out of balance. I did this with a dozen balls at my kitchen table, and I could not believe it. Ball after ball settled with the same spot facing up. Once I found that light spot on top, I took a marker and drew a dot right there, then spun again to confirm it. That dot marks the balance axis. When you get to the green, you set that mark pointing straight down your intended line, and the ball rolls truer because you are letting it rotate around its balanced axis instead of fighting a hidden heavy side. The first round after I did this, I stopped missing those short, dead straight putts that used to wander off at the last second. And it cost me nothing but a scoop of Epsom salt I already had in the bathroom cabinet. Think about what that means. The knowledge was there. Engineers understood ball balance more than 60 years ago. Caddies and tinkerers kept it alive around the edges of the game. Then it got buried under the assumption that anything with a premium logo must be perfect, and we all stopped checking. Now you have it back. You can walk into your kitchen tonight, test every ball in your bag, and know which ones will actually roll straight before you ever tee them up. And that is the thread running through this entire experiment, from compression to feel to balance. We were taught to trust the price tag and the logo instead of trusting a test we could run with our own hands. The most expensive ball is not your ball. The pro's ball is not your ball. Your ball is the one that matches your swing, feels soft in your aching hands, flies straight through the wind, and passes the float test in your own kitchen. I spent 11 years and hundreds of dollars believing the opposite, all because it never occurred to me that the thing everyone reached for might be the wrong thing for me. Getting that back, that simple sense that I could figure this out myself instead of paying to be told, felt like recovering something that had been quietly taken from me. And that is who you are. If you have watched this far, you are the kind of person who suspects that a lot of what we get sold is just a way to keep us paying and keep us dependent when the real answers are older, cheaper, and sitting right there in our own hands. You do not want to be marketed to. You want to know. So let me ask you one specific thing, and I genuinely want your answer. What swing speed are you working with, and which of these 5 balls are you going to try first? The Callaway Super Soft, the Srixon Soft Feel, the Wilson Duo Soft Plus, the Titleist Tour Soft, or the TaylorMade Soft Response? And has anyone else here ever actually run the Epsom salt float test on their golf balls? Tell me what you found. Drop it in the comments below right now, because I read them and I answer them, and I want to know if your balls rolled to the same heavy side mine did. Do not just watch and leave. Take 10 seconds and type it out. If you believe, like I do, that the good practical knowledge keeps getting buried under things they want us to buy, then subscribe and stand with the rest of us who are digging it back up, one test at a time. Because the next thing I am testing is even better. I am going to show you how to check whether your driver has quietly lost its spring over the years, a 5-minute check at home that tells you if the club you trust is secretly costing you distance, and why the year you bought it might matter more than you think. You will not want to miss that one. I lived in that wrong ball trap for years. Now, at the end, I want to invite the ones still with me into the old ways circle. Inside, we pick up right where this video stopped. You can ask me your question, and I answer you myself, no bot. Thousands of old ways folks like you are already in there with us. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen, and you can cancel anytime.